Welcome to the Key to Growth podcast, Home Services Marketing Unlocked, with me, your host, Jen McKee. Every week, I sit down with top marketers in the trades, from the brains behind $100 million companies to those scaling from 1 to 3, even to 10 million, breaking down exactly how they got where they are and uncover the secret to their success. If you're ready to grow your business and get real, actionable insights, you are in the right place. Let's unlock the key to your marketing success, starting now. Welcome back, everybody, to the Key to Growth podcast. Again, I am your host, Jen McKee, and today I am here with Michael Johnson of AC Man in Fayetteville. I'm going to let him introduce himself, and then we will get started because, oh my goodness, if you are someone who is like, can I even make any money off of social media? Can I even use social media to grow my business? This is the episode that you are going to want to listen to. So, Michael, why don't you introduce yourself?
So, my name is Michael James Johnson. I do own an HVAC business here in North Carolina. We actually did an interview together recently. So this is kind of like our part 2, I guess. But
Right.
run an HVAC company. I'm really big on community involvement. And also because of community involvement, where's the community, right? They're at Walmart, they're at Target, they're at school, they're at work, and they're on social media more than they're at all those other things, to be honest. If you look at their screen time, right? So
Right.
Really big community and social media company.
Yeah, definitely. And so Michael and I connected on social media, funny enough, and he had me on his podcast. And one thing I love about now being a podcast host is that I feel like the conversations are so different from when you're on someone else's podcast because the goal is different and the people listening are different. And so I am super excited about this one for very selfish reasons, but like I start everything, which is at the beginning. So tell us how you are come from a military background, then you have this HVAC business. So just tell us a little bit about how you got into the trades, and then we'll get into how you brought social media into it too.
Yeah, and it all ties together because your beginnings sometimes dictate the entire culture of the company, right? So I was in the United States Air Force. I served from 98 to 04.
Wow, thank you for that service. That's a long time.
Yeah, and that was the time when the towers fell.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, 9/11. So I was in during 9/11.
Wow.
And I mean, it was what a whirlwind, right? It was really hard to describe being a military member during that time because your life flips upside down. It was complete and utter chaos for a service person. If you weren't in the service, it was chaos. But then imagine you're mobilizing all of a sudden, and you're here, and then you're here in the world, and then you're here, and then you're here, and then here. You don't even know what the mission is. So during that time, we were doing a lot of stuff. It's all history now. But around 03, 04, when everything shifted to everything in Iraq and Afghanistan, my contract was nearing. I had a 6-year contract with the Air Force. And I decided, hey, you know what? I've done it for the last couple of years since the towers fell for the couple of years. I think it was time for me to kind of, pass that torch to some others. And I started looking at the skills that I had. When I was in the Air Force, I was doing basically the trades, right? So I was doing heating, air conditioning, some generator work. It was an easy decision to say, hey, I can step out into this. Now, Jen, that was a different world in 2004 when I got out, when you talk about marketing, because MySpace had just come on the scene. Yeah. Barely. I mean, it was brand spanking new. Nobody really knew how to use it.
No,
nobody was using it. Yeah. For business, it was.
No, not even a thought.
Yeah. There were no cell phones were just coming around, right? I think the iPhone came out in 07, actually. So there was no social media at all. There were no cell phones at all. Digital marketing, it was nothing. You had to get an ad in the phone book, which I couldn't afford. So the only thing I could afford to do was get my name in the community. I didn't have money, but I had time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that kind of shaped me into who I am today.
Yeah. It's interesting. I talk to a lot of contractors and everybody's at a level of success. And it really starts with that free, give your time to the community and get your name out there. And honestly, I think that's the same for every business. I mean, that's really how people want to work with people. And I love how, and now that connects with social media because it gives you this opportunity to authentically get in front of people where you couldn't do that. So okay. So was that the AC Man? You started that right out of the military?
Right out of the military. It was just me. Never had any idea that I would ever have employees, I knew that I would be in for the long haul, right? But I didn't know what it looked like today. It's just been blessed to still be here after 20 years and to be able to kind of start passing that over to my kids. So I started it. Actually, the name became AC Man really started because the phone book was all we had and you had to go in alphabetical order.
Yeah, so you want to be in the Ace.
Yeah, there was an AC Now in Fayetteville. So I thought, okay, what's before N? And so I named it, and they're out of business. They're gone. They don't exist.
Yeah.
Started it right out of it.
So what do you think got you? I mean, obviously social media and video and all of these things didn't really play a part. It's been at least 10 years, but like, what did those first 10 years look like? How did you, 20 years is a long time to keep a business going, an HVAC business going and growing. And what did that initial marketing really look like?
So when I started, I didn't really know, I knew nothing pretty much about marketing. So, but what I did know is if I can get in as many conversations as possible, right? I don't know if I would have described it like that, but I can go out with a stack of business cards. I mean, these things still work. Right? This is old school marketing, but conversations still work. I spent many hours a week when I started going to Target, putting business cards on cars. No shame. Not work. I mean, I had to pay my bills. Yeah, when you got to pay bills, you don't worry about putting cards on cars. I would go, if someone was walking to their car, I'd give them a card. I had these little pamphlets. All of that stuff I still do. I still have the pamphlets right here in front of me. I still have the cards. I still pass them out.
Yeah.
Because that stuff still works. And then once I started getting customers, then obviously treating those customers well, going the word of mouth route, doing all of that. And honestly, I feel like because social media exists today, that a lot of people don't do that because that's scary, right? It's tough. People say I'm an introvert, so they can sort of just eliminate all that and just do social media. But social media is incredibly powerful, but it's one piece of a big puzzle.
100%. I always say it elevates all your other marketing efforts because they like, it doesn't live in a vortex. Like there's so many other things that come into play. Okay. So let's get into social media. And I think it's really interesting. So and we'll put these in the show notes and I'll have Michael talk about them too. But like, if you look up his social media, the AC Man, you'll see a ton of content, but also you have a podcast, which when I was on Michael's podcast, like 2 hours later, he's sending me like 35 videos that have been created from this podcast, which is enormous amount of content, but that is not your business content at all. So like, tell me about how do you differentiate your podcast and your personal brand versus your AC Man, which you're still putting effort into that too.
Yeah. So differentiate as far as the workflow process or the content style?
Well, I think now that's a good question. And it brings up a question that people ask me, especially owners like yourself, like, what is the difference? How do I know what goes on my personal social media versus my, business social media? Because there's a gray line there. Like there's a lot of similarities.
Yes. So I think if you put your homeowner hat on and you realize whether it's on my personal profile or my business profile, right? So I own the HVAC company and I have my personal socials. If someone is on my business page, that's still a human person in the community, right? So a lot of times what people will do is they'll put really personal content on their personal, and then they'll put this super clinical, super professional, cleaned up on their business page, when in reality, that super clinical polish doesn't really connect with people. So really, I say what you would put on your personal page, that same style where you're out in the community, you're laughing, you're making jokes, you're not perfect, you're not polished. If you take that and you put that on your business pages, you'll get a lot more traction.
Yeah.
So I tend to say, okay, so Jen, this is my thing. When I post a piece of content, and we'll probably get into some other stuff later, but my thought process is, who's watching this piece of content, right? Nobody gets up. I see my wife when she's scrolling. She never picks up her phone to say, I want to see some solicitations today.
Don't want someone to sell me.
Yeah, she works really hard. She comes home, she eats dinner, she hangs out with the kids, she takes a shower, she gets in bed, picks up her phone to relax.
Yeah.
Right. So, and that's why there's a 1 second swipe rate on social media.
Right.
Because you're looking for something engaging. So what I try to do is when I make a piece of content, I think about when people are scrolling to relax, is this something they can relax to? And hey, we're running a $49 discount, call us. That's not relaxing.
Right.
Right. So that's how I kind of put my homeowner hat on when I make content.
That's so interesting. So how did you even like those first days when what even made you think like I'm going to start creating video content for my social media? And like how long ago was that? And then what did the beginning of that process look like?
So the biggest difference that I saw in myself as a content creator was TikTok. Right. So initially we've had a YouTube channel for a while. Right now we have about 3,500 subscribers. Actually, we get a lot of HVAC jobs from YouTube, which is counterintuitive. Some people don't realize that YouTube is very local. But there was a time when I was posting on TikTok in 2020, 2021, I was posting 3 videos a day.
Yeah.
Because someone told me 3 videos a day.
Right. I remember that
did
time.
It. And
I totally remember that time.
Yeah, you remember they just said post 3 videos a day. So I went out into the field, and I don't really work in the field. I'm not a technician at this point, but I had to shoot content. So I'd go on the jobs. I still do today. I would get a wrench in my hand and explain something.
Yeah.
And the following started getting really huge. I actually disliked the videos because I was dirty. My hair was messed up. So I stopped doing that. And I started polishing the videos more, pre-scripting them, making myself look perfect. And the engagement actually went down.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that's kind of how I started 2020, because everyone was home and everything. I went on TikTok. Everyone said it was big. And I started there. And really TikTok, I get a lot when I coach, and I don't know if you talk to people, Jen, when you talk to your clients. Here's an interesting fact about TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, all of them. The average age of TikTok is 40 years old. So if you think about it, who's holding the wealth in the United States? Baby boomers are number 1. Okay. They own the homes. Gen X is number 2. That's me. It's around 40s, mid 40s. And then millennials are number 3. Millennials in their 40s now. So if you say the average age is the people that hold the wealth in this country and own the homes in this country, that's the average age of TikTok. Should you or should you not be posting on TikTok?
Yeah.
Right? So the average age of Facebook, I think, is in the mid 50s.
Yeah.
I mean, the community is there. You got to know how to do it, but really you don't have to. So, but I'm not going to get ahead of that.
Yeah. Okay. So I totally got on TikTok in 2020, which is really common for our age group, which is when looking at the curve of adoption, those are like people that come after the first adopters that are like always, people that are interested, seeing what's happening over there. And TikTok has changed a lot. I mean, you mentioned like posting 3 videos a day, like you can still do that. It's not, and the reason that people would say that is so that you could learn about how to optimize your content, what's performing well. You could get more views on your videos. There's always a lot of people ask a lot of like the how questions with social media, like, well, when should I be posting? How should I edit it? How many videos should I create? Which platform should I be on? And to me, like, those are not the most important things that you should be focused on. They're very like, if you can post 10 videos a day, do it. Like Alex Hormozi always talks about the 200 pieces of content he posts a day, which is how he reaches so many people. But like just posting 1 a day is going to get you way further than posting nothing. So the how is not always the most important thing. And I think you mentioned that because you were just getting out there sharing stuff, like that's what was performing better. And I bet that's still what performs better. People still want a little bit of authenticity, answering their questions. So are you bringing, I do see like you do have some ones that are more scripted, a little bit more intentional. You have videos with your team, you have videos outside. Like how is your content creation like now versus then?
So now, and I believe action creates clarity, right? So that's what
100%.
You just got to go out there and do it. I've learned what can go viral, right?
Yeah.
So just 2 weeks ago, we posted a video. It got 400,000 views on it on TikTok. It was the number 1 trending video in my town. And TikTok does that. You can look that up. But that's on purpose. It's not an accident, because I learned what makes a video go viral on TikTok. I know what makes a video go viral on YouTube. I know Facebook, all of that. But I learned that by just making insane amounts of videos.
Yeah.
So what shifted for me from doing 3 videos a day, I do way more than 3 a day now. It depends on the platform, but I noticed through action that there's a certain way to do the video. So instead of doing 10 videos a day or 3 videos a day, it's okay to do 1 video a week if your video is optimized the right way. By optimized, I mean understanding who you're talking to. So I figure out who is it that I'm talking to. I'm talking to my customers. I'm talking to my homeowners. I don't care about anybody else if they're watching it, right? So you'll see me explaining stuff about HVAC. That's typically what I'll do. I'll say, okay, what can I go out and explain?
Yeah.
I'll explain it in a way that a non-tradesperson can understand. If you go on my videos and you look in the comments, you'll see technicians from around the world saying, why'd you use that word? It's refrigerant, not Freon. I don't care because I'm not talking to other technicians.
Right.
My point is for homeowners to look at these videos, and we just did a job the other day. It was a $12,000 job off of one 30-second video that I did right in my backyard. It was a homeowner that was trying to figure out how to hook up his ductwork. He's a DIY. He's going to do it himself.
Yeah.
Googled it, found my 30-second reel on YouTube, saw me explaining how to do it right, realized it's too much for him to do, called us, and it was a $12,000 job.
Yeah.
The way it looks for me is to explain things in a way that shows my customers that I'm an expert. So they say, wow, he's teaching this. He got to the point to where he's teaching. Maybe I should let them do it.
Yeah.
And it differentiates yourself when, people get 3 quotes because they believe there's at least 3 companies in town that can do the same thing. So they call 3 people and they get the cheapest one. But when you position yourself as an expert, which is my social media strategy, now people start to think, wait a minute, he's not the same as them. They're doing HVAC, but he's an expert at HVAC, even though they're also experts. They're not showing that. So that's my strategy, is to explain and position myself as an expert.
I love that. I think that you are, like I said at the beginning of this episode, I'm really excited to have you on here because not everybody is going to end up being a content creator as an owner, but to show that it is possible to grow your business using social media. Like, talk a little bit about, like, do you remember the first job that you got and you were like, dang, this is working? Like, because you had to have put like hours into this before it was actually, it's a snowball. Like, it's social media at first, like you're talking to no one and like you have no platform at all, but you can't ever get that platform without creating. And so tell us about like that first job that you were like, oh my God, all of that was finally worth it.
Tell you what, I started noticing when I was going to my son. I have a 12-year-old son and he plays soccer. He was in a summer soccer league. This was a couple years ago. And I started going to the games and multiple people started saying, the AC man, just strangers.
Yes.
Strangers. And when it happened the first time, it was kind of like, okay, somebody saw it.
Yeah.
But then it was becoming multiple, almost like I was some sort of local celebrity.
Right.
That's when my wheels started turning, like, wait a minute. It takes multiple touches to get someone to hire you. So they're seeing me everywhere. I was just at church on Sunday and a guy, he's not a random guy, but a guy stopped me and said, I can't escape your videos. So I started noticing, wait a minute, when their AC breaks, they've seen me 1,000 times already. So it's not going to be HVAC company near me.
Right.
They're going to Google AC man. If they can shout me out at a soccer game, then they can remember the name and they can just Google it. So that got my wheels turning, scared me a little bit.
Yeah.
Because it can take you out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's what we all wish for, right? So that's what gets me constantly just posting. I'm actually going out today after this interview to meet up with some techs to shoot some more content because it costs, I mean, you film it with this.
Yeah.
Well, I do. But I mean, it cost me $0. If you add up my time, if my time was $50 an hour and I take 2 hours, that's what, a couple $100?
Yeah.
Cheaper than everything else.
Okay. So like real talk, how much time do you put into creating content for AC Man right now, weekly?
So I typically go out on Wednesdays, right? So this is my workflow. So I run my company Monday through Friday. I'll go out on Wednesday from 8 to 12. What I'll do is I will jump from job to job, right? So I'll go to this technician's job, film something. So that's 4 hours right there. If I can get a really good content on the first job, I'm back in the office by 9 a.m. 1 hour. I'll film everything on my phone and then I'll just upload the video straight to social media from the phone. So a lot of times I'm out by 8, back by 9, uploaded by 9:30.
And you're editing all yourself right now.
Editing, I edit it. There's a trick in videography. It's called editing in camera, right? So this will take some editing time off some people. Editing in camera means you are aware that it's recording. You have an idea what you're going to say. You say it, and then you hit stop, and you don't have to edit that. You just trim the beginning and trim the end. So what I do is I'll film 2 or 3 versions, right? Let's look at it like this. If this was a session and you're filming me, I'd say, okay, Jen, I'm going to hold this part up. I'm just going to explain it real quick. And then when I say the words, thanks for watching, you hit the stop button, right? So I'll just hold it up and say, hey, I'm out here fixing this thing. This is the wrong way to do it. I'm going to put it like this. This is the right way to do it. Thanks for watching. It can be as short as that. Boom, that's one reel. How long did it take? 15 seconds. So I can record 20 or 30 reels. That's one way way to do it. Second way that I do it is walk around the job site, have someone film me for 5 minutes, and I just talk about anything that I see. That's a 5-minute long video. And then I can cut that up into 15 or 20 reels by using the software. So to answer your question, I'm spending about 2 hours a week to post 40 times.
Right. Yeah. What tools are you editing in the apps, or do you use an outside app if you're like adding captions or cutting it up?
I believe everything should be automatic. If there's something that I have to add, like use the word adding captions, if I have to add something, I'll find something to do it automatically. So what I'll typically do is CapCut is a tremendous tool. It's one of the most powerful.
Is it working again?
Well, if you had it already.
I have it, but it stopped working, and then I haven't checked it in a little bit.
Yeah, I typically don't use. Normally what I'll do is I'll film a reel and then upload it to TikTok.
Yeah.
Because it'll add the captions and I'll download it to the phone and then
upload it. Right. And then you can put it anywhere.
There's a trick that I always tell people is if you can get a lot of videos, then if you don't have time to go out, re-upload the other ones again. Nobody's watching you that close to say, no. Oh my gosh, Michael posted that video in October. I can't believe you. Nobody that video that I did recently that has 500,000 views. Next winter, I'm going to post that. I'm going to post a video every winter because it worked.
Yeah. So it was the video of like the smoke coming out of the HVAC system. People love stuff like that. Yeah. We have things that it's like, do this video because it always goes viral. Like it's like easy stuff. Okay. So before I kind of just want to shift gears for a minute because you also do consulting and you've impacted many contractors over the years. So talk a little bit about that. I know you have a Facebook group, like ways that you're helping the industry overall.
Yeah. So I naturally, because I had been in business so long, I've been around for a while. At this point, I'm almost becoming like a dinosaur, right?
You've seen it all.
Yeah. And I remember when a lot of the digital CRMs had come around and when Facebook came around. So I've been in the groups for so many years and just my giving heart. I was always giving back, always helping, always helping, always helping. And that brought me naturally into the business coaching world. So for the last couple of years, I've been doing business coaching and helping companies grow. My skills are marketing, right? I'm a guerrilla marketer to the core.
Yeah.
Right? I can get out $0. I can bring in $100,000 a month for a company for $0. But once you bring the clients in, the pricing has to be right. The sales process has to be right. All of this has to work properly because there's nothing like getting all these jobs in, getting all these people calling from TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Yelp, Nextdoor, there's 100 of them. But they're coming in through different avenues. And how are you tracking them?
Yeah.
How are you getting that consistency? Yeah. So business coaching is something I'm doing 2 days a week. I love helping. I love giving back. When you're a business owner who's cried in his van before because you don't know how to grow a business and your family is going without, then it's just wonderful to be able to help someone who's in that position and turn it around.
So the podcast that you have, your other content, so you create all this content for your business, but then you're also creating content for contractors. So tell us about that podcast.
So it's called The Business Edge. It's on YouTube and Spotify and Apple and all that. So that podcast is my way of giving the free advice. You can come into the program. I'd love anyone to watch come into the program, but for those that may not be at that level yet to come into a coaching program, I make those videos where I discuss pricing. I discuss sales strategies. I discuss marketing. I have a video on social media. I'm not an agency. I don't provide that. But, there's a way to say, hey, this is accessible here. Watch it, learn it, do whatever. And then when you're ready to pass this on to someone else, because there's revenue levels, right? At 100K a year or 50K a year, I would turn someone away. I'm not here to bleed your business dry. So at 50K, 100K, 200K, go watch the podcast, watch the videos, DM me, ask me questions. And then when you start getting higher revenue, now this is a waste of your time now. You need to speed this up. You need to come into the program.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Okay, so I went off topic, but I do have one more question about social media. So you're making money off of social media. So how often are you getting jobs and how are you tracking that? Like people are saying hey, I saw this video and now we're calling you, or what are you looking at there?
So what we do, there's a couple things that we do. because I'm really big on it. That time that I'm spending making videos, it has to bring in money. I do the social media videos to bring in money to the company, not because I want to be a movie star. So the first thing we do is we have a tracking number on every different social media site. So if you go on my TikTok and you hit call, there's a number for TikTok inside my company. I can see that you called from TikTok. There's a separate number on Facebook. There's a separate number on all of these things. Those phone calls are also recorded, right? So that's the first thing we do. At the end of the month, we pull a report and see what jobs came from what platform. If I start to notice no money is coming in from YouTube, I'm going to figure out why, right? I'm not going to stop it unless 6 months goes by. And, so first thing we do is we do that. The second thing we do is I want to know which videos, which types of videos are bringing in how much money. What we'll do is when we get in the home, so when they call in, we're going to ask them if they didn't call in on a tracking number, because sometimes people will go on a YouTube video or TikTok video, watch it, go to Google, find us on Google,
search them.
So we'll ask, hey, how did you hear about us? Sometimes they'll say YouTube. Okay, boom, done. We book them. We don't keep them on the phone. When the technician goes out, does the job, then we ask them again, hey, you said you found us on TikTok. Do you remember the video that you watched? Because we're looking for trends. And we started to notice, actually, there's one singular trend that's bringing in these huge jobs.
You got to tell us.
$100 here, the $200 here, that's fine. But these $15,000, $20,000, $30,000, it's always the teaching videos. Yeah. So when I stand there, and you'll see a video I did the other day on TikTok, I think it's 20,000 views, where I'm doing a regulator and I say, this is the wrong way to do it. This is the right way to do it. Always bring in the huge job.
So interesting.
And I have to guess why. I don't know why necessarily, but do I care? So, yeah.
The educational videos have really been impactful, I've noticed, in the last year or so. And maybe people are just craving authenticity. Like we went through, I feel like a 20 or 30-year period where it was like, be dumb or be silly or be stupid in commercials and on TV and stuff. And now I think, I don't know, people just want something a little bit more real. Not that there's not a place for it. I mean, obviously we like to be entertained, but I love that.
Jen, that speaks to something. If you watch any of my channels, you don't see me making jokes because I'm not a comedian, right? I'm more of a serious person. I'm fun, but I'm not the guy who's going to dance. And it's okay to, if that's not you, don't do it. Right? So I'm a teacher. I'm not a dancer. I'm not a jokester. So I do that kind of content. I think if you saw me dancing and joking, you would probably unsubscribe. You have to pay attention to the trends, but you can also find one of the trends that suits you.
Right.
And then stick with that.
It's like, start with what you're most comfortable with. Like instead of just already people are uncomfortable posting on social media. So if you're most comfortable creating a static post and just writing a lot, if you're comfortable recording a video, but you're not comfortable editing it, just post it without editing it. And like, you have to just start somewhere in order to get there. Okay. So before we go, the last question that I ask everybody on the show, you are on the Key to Growth podcast. So what is the key to growth?
The key to growth is ever learning, ever implementing, ever tweaking and testing, not quitting, right? So I'm going to constantly learn. When I learn something from you, I'm going to implement it. Then when I implement it and it doesn't work, I'm not going to quit it. I'm going to just tweak it until it continues to go. So I say learning, and then the end all be all for me is just, at the end of the day, grit. You're going to win a lot of things. You're going to lose a lot of things. But in the end, if you keep going, you're going to find a lot of success.
I love that. Wholeheartedly agree. All right. So tell everybody where they can find you, because Michael Johnson is a popular name. So how do they find you in the internet?
If you type in Michael James Johnson, that's the reason the James is there. So
right. Makes sense.
Michael James Johnson HVAC. If you type that, you will find me. Michael James Johnson HVAC. Plug it into Google. Something is going to come up.
Right. And then AC Man Heating and Air. Is that your handle everywhere?
Yeah. On the HVAC stuff, it's usually AC Man Heating. On Twitter, it's AC Man Heating. TikTok, AC Man Heating.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate your time. You gave us so much. And I hope that everybody listening to this just puts something out there and sees what is truly possible with social media in your trades business. So thank you for your time today.
Thank you.